Alright, so obviously the bigger piece of foam you use, right, the higher it's going to float upright. You just squeeze it down. This happens to be pipe insulation that I just cut off. You can wet it, it goes in a little bit easier. Use a pair of forceps if you need to stick it inside. So you can see. I'm just going to completely bury that. Again, far down as you can. Inside the head. Okay. And there's the worm hook. I'll use the worm hook when I'm pitching a brush because it lays up tight against the body and doesn't get snagged as much as the wide gap does. And then just a simple Texas rig. Keep it centered as best you can. Straight out to the middle. Slide it up. Spin it. And now that foam is sitting right in that head. Right there. So what I like to do, and I don't know if it makes a difference, but it tends to keep the hook in a little better, and it also prevents the foam from coming out. I pass it straight through. Make sure you come out centered. So the hook's coming out. You know, regular Texas rig, but now it's through the foam also. If I'm pitching a brush, I'll bury the barb into the head. And then this is for open water setup where the bullet weight just free slides. And when it's laying on the bottom, this will suspend, standing upright with the claws flapping upright. If you just cast it out, it's probably going to be about somewhere in that distance, and when you pull the rod tip, this will come back down. And then if you lower your rod tip and shake it a bit and give it some slack, it's going to ride right back up, as you'll soon see. Okay, this is the pegged version. 1/0 worm hook owner. Same type of setup with the 3/16 bullet weight, but this time it's pegged. Oh, maybe a ½ inch above the craw. As you can see, same results, just tighter to the bottom. And with that foam inserted again, standing in the upright defensive posture. Just a little movement on that rod tip. This is the technique I've been using in the last 3 tournaments. It's produced fairly well for me with 11, 12 plus, and 15 plus. I'll move that weight a little bit closer, all depending on the thickness of the structure I'm pitching to. If there's a lot of branch and shrub, I'm going to butt that bullet weight right up to the back of the lure. You can move that bullet weight 6 inches away if you want. It'll stay pegged. Again, a little movement of the rod tip. Those claws are going to get that little wavy action going. And that's the new setup. Open water setup, 2/0 owner wide gap hook, 3/16 to 1/4 ounce bullet weight, not pegged, Texas rigged, on 14-pound test Siege camo. So you can see how it suspends above the weight. You can get that to rise as high as you need it to, say just above the weed line. Any movement at all in the water, if there's a little chop, you can see those claws moving on its own. I'm not touching the rod tip at all. I have to give it a little shake. Again, it remains suspended in the defensive posture. Draw that rod tip up, it'll come back down to that bullet weight. Little shaky head action. It's going to move away from that bullet weight and rise up as high as you need it to slowly. The whole time again remaining in the defensive posture and suspended. Apologize for the amateur video. First attempt. You can see it start to rise up on its own, move up away from the bullet weight. Now, I don't know if you can see it, but it's still moving. I'm not doing a thing. So now I got the craw floating on the surface, and it'll rise right up as far as you want it to. Lift your rod tip slowly and it's going to descend. And then shake it and give it some slack. And it'll float back up as high as you need it to above that bullet weight. As you can see, I'm not doing a thing, and it's moving and wiggling nice and slow. Pivot, if you just shake it a little bit, you can actually see those claws starting to move around. That's the technique I've been using out in open water. I let it rise, level or just inside the weed line. It also works well. I've caught a few fish reeling it back to the boat with the flapping action.